Welcome back, everybody. So I think last week the market was amazing. We had these strange moves here, and you can see that I had this setup here. You can see we had this mitigation of this bullish order flow after we tied into this mitigation, this 4 hour zone, right? So let me just recap last week. Okay, so I think okay, let me do this one. So this one was the setup. I was expecting price to sell because of this bearish move that you broke this structure in the 15 minutes, and everything on the 4 hours, speaking for sales. When I came here, I saw that it mitigated this 4 hour demand region here. And what was the reaction? Before we expect a pullback. And what is the first sign of pullback that you will expect? We want to see demand failures, structures to shift in our favors. So what happened last week was this move. You can see we had this strong positive move here. We didn't really have any structure that we would deem to be a fractal or an internal. This one was just a whole draw from the 15 minutes. So just a string structure. The only structure that if we wanted to identify as a structure according to a trade structures, then it would have been this one, right? The top here, because the price moved impulsive, and you had some kind of pullback, and price continued the move and broke the structure. So if that's the case, this here where I've already signed is, let's say, the eyeballs, right? So when price breaks this, it means the swing structure has started. But looking at where this internal structure is, it is better to leave it as fractal structure because it is very close. So that was what I saw last week. So if that's the case, then you can see I have this zone drawn here. I have this zone drawn to somehow from the 4 hour and somehow on the 15 minutes. So I thought this one will be used as inducement if I is going to come to this zone before we will move to the stream. And when I did this one too as well, the premium and discount pricing, you can see that. So you can see that we were expecting price to at least come into the equilibrium, come into EQ before for better pricing, right? So if we are expecting this is the thesis or the trade idea. Price on a 4 hour is bearish, right? But the internal of the flower is bullish. The internal of the flower is also bearish, but the internal of the flower is bullish. And we've mitigated a 4-hour demand region. We've had sharp impulsive move. So the idea is, when price came into this zone, we broke the structure and we mitigated, or we liquidated price into this demand region, right? So if that's the case and we're expecting the pullback, then this demand has to hold as it is holding, as it moves this impulsively. If it is going to hold, then we are going to expect price to pull back into at least EQ or into this zone before, because I was willing to sell from this area, mainly from this area. I wasn't really willing to sell from this region here because it didn't break anything. This structure didn't break any demand or whatever. It's not a flip zone. So I wasn't really interested in selling at this zone, right? But I will get in a little bit later because that one is quite advanced. So on the normal surface in the strategy, the game plan, or what do I say? Is it the game plan? The game plan, or the highest probable option, is to wait for price to come to this area here. Bobby. Okay, so before I know we are going to get the setups, so let's not chase anything. So you can see from last week, okay, cool. From last week we had this massive drops here. This move was juicy. I can't lie. This move was juicy. We had multiple great moves here, right? And whatever happened, I know that we were switching bullish to facilitate this pullback into this, this structure. To facilitate this pullback into it, so we were moving this impulsive. We had this pullback, and we continued the move to at least tap into this structure, whatever. But I knew that this was just switching bullish to facilitate pullback into here, and we'll continue the move. And this is exactly what happened, because we had this impulsive move to the it was corrective though. It was a correction. It was a corrective structure that we are looking for. But this thing, you can see, it was more like impulsive. So we had this impulsive move and this strong impulsive move to the downside that closed below the 4-hour low, right? This was the zone that we were trading within. We had this impulsive, so whatever will happen here will happen until this low was broken. And what has happened? This low has broken. What happened last week, shouldn't have happened, but it did, because in the morning the plan was, as I'm explaining, I was expecting pullback into the major zone, although then we have mitigated this order flow, the last order flow. I was expecting massive or major pullback because of this demand mitigation. But the thing that was speaking against the trade was during last week, or I think last 2 weeks, when we had this buy move. I was expecting us to break this equals within this demand region. Why? Because here, first one is the weak internal structure. 2, it hasn't broken a structure. When we had this mitigation, we were expecting price to do what? To mitigate or to push to the upside and break this structure. This is why we have this eyeballs here, internal weak structure. This is what we were expecting. We were expecting price to move to the downside, and if this swing structure Yes, if the swing structure is going to continue, we were expecting this move, to break this structure, this eyeballs internal break of structure. When we break this structure, this is the signal that the internal structures have ended, and we are getting this swing move where we are continuing the move, right? It didn't happen. That didn't happen, and we continue the move to the downside. So it means these internal structures, this swing pullback that we are seeing is still continuing. Why? Because internal structure eyeballs, they signal the start and end of a swing pullback. So when we have this internal structure, this eyeballs here, until this is broken, or until the weak structure of the eyeballs is broken, or weak internal break of structure, until it is broken, we are trading within this range on a 4-hour. But this is where you combine multi-time frame market analysis with 3-type structure, and this gives us some kind of clear understanding about the market. Because last week, as I've said, this is the X here, this is the liquidated zone, this equals. I was expecting this equals to be liquidated, but what happened was, so it means from last 2 weeks, this zone that I was looking forward to buy from was weak, right? It was weak structure because it didn't break a structure, although it broke this internal structure or whatever. The major structure that it was supposed to break to be a valid demand region, it didn't happen. So it was a weak structure. That was the first red flag, let's say red flag for me buying here, because already I had this liquidated zone. Anyway, we were trading from a weak structure. That was the first one we had. And even I'll get into I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm getting excited because when we had this mitigation, the trade idea that I'm talking about is supposed to be here. The first mitigation that we had here, this one was supposed to be quick move, because I wasn't naive about the fact that we were trading bearish, we were trading strongly to the downside, and I'm supposed to be buying. I wasn't naive. It wasn't like I didn't know. I knew that it will happen, but we've already had this mitigation. So if we were going to push up again, there's a high probability we will be pushing into this, this my zone that I drew here. Make I connect again. Okay, you come. You do new one. You do not do again. Or I know some. That be like, why now? Why I sign why new one and I'm not inside. You know finish. Okay, let's continue. So anyways, we were buying from weak structure. The main move had already happened. We were expecting price to push deeper into this structure. This was the main trade idea. So when I went to the 15 minutes, I was expecting trend to change. Basically, I was expecting the trend to change this move. I was expecting trend. Why is this thing doing this? I was expecting trends to change on the 15th to facilitate, the pullback into this area here. So if the trend is going to change, now I was expecting to ride this, pullback into the major zone before I continue the move. That's why I took those buys from here, right? But we didn't have this impulsive, we didn't have that major deep up impulse move. So okay. So I was expecting to, buy this because we were going to shift structure. This one will switch bearish to facilitate the pullback into here, which it did. We switched bearish to facilitated the pullback into here. And we moved impulsively, the internal of this structure here, switch bearish. But the fractal switch bullish. So I was buying the fractal because I bought these structures. I was buying the fractal, expecting the fractal to continue so that the internal will follow, and then you pull back into here. But we didn't. And we moved strongly to the downside. So anyways, this zone failed. It has failed. Because I see that it is, we are having this strong impulsive moves already. And today is just Monday, right? Today is just Monday. I haven't gotten opportunity yet. If I get it, great. If I didn't, if I don't, great. Tomorrow is another day. I have I don't know, my life ahead of me. So I feel like you finished crap. Here we come. Nah. Boy. The man will book now for happening to information this way. So we need to machine is too. Youth and non-information is not included. Buenas buki mwasa. Oh, sorry. Hey, from Akwari. Boy, I don't know how to
Yes, I thought you say finish.
but once they go and then the woman said me be close na ba if I say about and I read them maybe the move now they happen. Five-star gym now like promise. Goodbye. Hey, Sister Mama, change your mouth. Say the legislative Oh, why are you starting the ane?